before we dive into the details of the article, I wanted to ask you what drew you to John Lewis in the first place to write about him?
For one, I love John Lewis, and rest in peace, Congressman John Lewis. And backstory, I'm sure people know, but he was in the civil rights movement. He started when he was 19 or 20 years old. He got inspired by MLK. He was one of the leaders that led the Freedom Riders to do all the lunch sit-ins, the bus boycotts, etc. And what led me to him, because he's not a figure one would write about over an MLK, let's say. Because this was actually during a time that I was thinking about the civil rights movement and thinking about writing something for, Black History Month and all that. And again, i- some people might not like it, but it was the Lord. And if you saw the themes in there, I was talk bringing out the themes of Christianity from the civil rights movement, but I randomly just started thinking about the civil rights movement more and how, unbeknownst to America, we celebrate Christian values every time we celebrate MLK. We
Mm,
do. Because that's how he led the civil rights movement, and that's how um, we have seen such a different trajectory for this country because of what he stood on by his principles. But I want to focus on John Lewis because he lived to see the America that MLK didn't get to see. And also there was cool things like John Lewis on a podcast and all this other, contemporary avenues of news that he was able to talk about the civil rights movement in. But I won't go on a tangent 'cause I'm sure you have questions there. I'll just say I was inspired to dive deeper into John Lewis specifically, um, with the caveat of looking how deep Christian values played a part in the civil rights movement.
yeah, and John Lewis is he passed away in 2020, which is only 4 years ago now. So, like
Mhm.
you said, there are videos, there are podcasts of him talking as recently as 4 or 5 years ago, and that is one of the things that separates him from MLK is that he didn't get killed decades ago. He was able to go through the civil rights movement and then have a voice decades beyond that. So I think it's really cool to see someone like him interact with modern day pop culture.
Mhm.
And these are just some other facts about John Lewis when I was looking into his background bio. So he's known in the as the Big Six of the civil rights movement, or he's part of the Big Six of civil rights. Born to sharecroppers in Alabama, organized lunch counter sit-ins in Nashville, founding member of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, the SNCC, the youngest speaker at the March on Washington. He was known as the conscience of Congress in the House of Representatives for how steady he stayed with his ethical values. And my favorite, he appears in Jeezy's My President music video, the one that Jeezy dropped when Barack Obama came into office. My president is black, my Lambo's blue. I'll be goddamn if my rims ain't too. You could see John Lewis in the background of that video.
That is funny.
that is that really warmed my heart when I found that out. But yeah, he seems like a man who lived a life where he made a huge dent in civil rights, and obviously he went on to go into the House of Representatives. You talk about a lot of this in the article, and how it relates to his Christian faith, and even the divide of today with social media and the polarization of things. And one of the excerpts that I really loved from your article, you wrote that something is happening in our country that I cannot quite explain. It feels as if our nation is desperate for our constant chaos to stop spinning. It seems like we're collectively fatigued by our division, yet we continuously devour one another online and off the web. So, how did we get to this place of chaos and division?
I mean, It feels like we've always been there. Like, United States when is what I wanna know, whenever we are united, but, um, yeah, that I wrote that in 2022, but
Yeah,
it's relevant now. Um,
probably more so.
well, yeah, more so now. Um, how did we get here? You know, you can say a lot of things play a part, and I do think the digital age plays a part in this. I think social media plays a part because these mm, forums allows people to not act human inside of them. And I think that the way someone talks to someone online on Twitter, they would never talk like that to someone in real life. Most of the interactions I have in my life are relatively good. I say 90% of the time, I'm not looking out, walking somewhere, thinking I'm gonna have an altercation with anyone. But on Twitter, you say one thing, you tweet one thing, and people go at your neck, especially if you have somewhat of a following. But I feel like these type of things have just dehumanized people to where people don't even see the other person on the other side as an actual full human being. I think there's something that happens when we go online. I won't say every single person, but most people, when they go online, it's like some part of themselves is lost. Like
Mm,
it's not there anymore. It's like like they that chip of in their heart that makes them second guess on how they should speak to someone is just left behind. Like it's like
yeah.
turned off. Um, so I think that's why, and I talk more about social media about like if we saw each other face to face, would we talk this way? And I talked about how John Lewis talked about the power of seeing someone in their eye, and they utilize that during the civil rights movement. And as people are hitting them, still staring at them in the eyes, so they see they're hitting a human being. Like I feel like connection is getting diluted, and that's why we're so divided. But then again, we are craving that connection though.